Go ahead,
I have a question for Sheriff Jenkins. My question is, why is there a facility that has rape kits stored in it in an unclimate controlled environment? And why have the rape kits still have not been processed so these victims can get justice, and why nothing has been done about it? And if you get reelected, what you're going to do about it?
Well, when you talk about information like that, that's very sensitive information. Number one, when you talk about, I'm sorry,
Can't hear you.
when you're talking about rape kits, or you talk about sensitive information like that, I'll answer that question as this. Some of those cases are probably old cases, maybe before I've gotten there, maybe not, but there's a process through SLAE. And we just can't, so for instance, if I put that information there or that from that kid in that particular place, you just don't move that information around. If SLAE says they can't analyze it at that point, we don't have that type of lab setup where we can do that. That's one of the things I was talking about earlier. When we talked about, it was mentioned earlier that I used the word poor. I didn't say poor, due to the fact that we have a certain amount of money, okay, in our budget. Therefore, we have to rely on other agencies, such as a neighboring agency, that if we tell them we have this to be analyzed, such as a rape kit, if they're set up to do that, then we can do that. Most times, it may be a lack of information assisting us with this case. But most times, and you say to what we do to enhance that, hopefully we can get the funds available and set up a lab.
I guess in fairness, do any of the candidates want to address anything related to her specific question? Or are we going to open it up to some others?
I can answer some of that. Being with the Sheriff's Office for 28 and a half years, I was part of the evidence custodian there at the Sheriff's Office. When you talk about rape kits and stuff, there's certain guidelines and stuff that you have to act on as soon as you get those rape kits. And just like the Sheriff said, you have to send those rape kits off to Columbia for DNA testing and that kind of stuff. When they get back, when you say they're being stored in not the right facility, after they get back and all the testing's been done, then you don't have to keep them refrigerated and all that stuff in, because all that stuff stays at SLED until you're ready to go to court with that case. So some of those cases you might be talking about is cases that's already been through SLED, been tested, all that DNA's been done, and now we're just storing them, waiting for court to have that box. That all that stuff comes in, we have to present at court time.
They might be.
It's there. That's what you have the box for. Now, a lot of times they're empty boxes. Because all that stuff still stays with SLED. When those chemists come down to testify, they bring that stuff with them. Okay.
Allow that to the fact that, being that I work in the Sheriff's Office, in the detective's office inside the trailer unit, we have a refrigerator that's not working. We have rape kits in there that has mold on it. We do not have evidence custodian at the Sheriff's Office. Someone that has the evidence, have it stored in a proper location, so therefore, if we want to go to the Sheriff's Office and say, let's say this attorney said, I want to see this particular case. We don't have a documented system at the Sheriff's Office where I can go and contact this individual can go within 10 to 15 minutes, put his hands on this evidence and have this ready for trial. We don't have that at Jasper County Sheriff's Office. That's a huge problem. We have containers outside that has evidence in them. We have evidence inside the building. We need to get that stuff proper, so therefore we can put it in a system, so therefore we can put our hand on documentation. Therefore, if anything should happen within 10, 15 years, we can go back and grab that evidence and continue prosecuting the case.
So the kits that are ruined, the victims will never have a resolution and they will never get justice.
I like to say something. If you don't have an evidence custodian, you don't have a case. Because you have to have a chain of evidence to go to court.
What we have to remember is, ladies and gentlemen, every case is won and solved based upon evidence. Every case. When you have the right attorney, if that attorney challenges the evidence, he's going to have a problem.
Well, I can tell you, being there 28 and a half years, I've been challenged several times in court and I've lost a case because of evidence and the tracking of evidence that I've been involved in. And that's been 28 and a half years of law enforcement here in Jasper County. Now, like I said, storing of that evidence, there's ways that you can store it and keep up with it a lot better than it has been in the past, by going with a computer system, a barcode system. We've been trying to get that in Jasper County. It's not here yet. Let me share it, and I'll make sure that happens.
Got a question over here.
I
I've got a question. Since Sam Woodward left a year and a half ago, we don't have a custodian anymore?
That's not true.
I'm asking,
Yes,
do we
ma'am,
not
do
have one?
We have one. The same day that what took place, and I'm not gonna discuss the personnel matter. But we
I'm
do
not
have-
asking
we
that,
do have
but
one.
who
We
is
do
it?
have one. Lieutenant Hill.
Yeah, when I left the sheriff's office, I turned the keys over to the evidence vaults and stuff like that to Lieutenant Gibb. I was
Okay,
directed
that's
to
all I
do
want to
that
know, to
when
make
I
sure
left.
we still have a
Yeah,
custodian.
so he automatically takes over that chain of custody at that time.
Everything is supposed to be signed off, documented.
What I would tell you, being working at the sheriff's office, when I was assigned to Beaufort Jasper Drug Task Force, Beaufort County would not let us bring our drugs into Jasper County and put it in the evidence. They wouldn't let us do it. What we had to do was end up taking our evidence over to Beaufort County and store it over there because they did not trust the Jasper County evidence system. That's the facts. That's a serious problem, ladies and gentlemen. We have to get to industry standards where we can also be in control of everything that's going on, know where our evidence is, know what evidence and goes to what cases, this case, that case. So therefore, when it comes time to trial, we're ready for it. If they challenge the chain of custody evidence, we're ready for it. We're up to industry standards. But right now, we're not there. That's a serious problem we have to face.
Let me say this. Number one, we have a task force that is awesome. That task force, ladies and gentlemen, is the Beaufort Jasper Task Force. We signed an agreement. That task force includes the sheriff's office, Beaufort Jasper. It includes SLED, State Law Enforcement Division. It includes the Navy. It includes the solicitor's office. Keep this in mind, regardless of where evidence is stored. If that evidence is being stored properly, it doesn't matter. We have an agreement. There is a board of officers that if we are in disagreement with anything, then we operate that way. One thing I'm proud of is that we lean on other agencies lean on us, is the fact that this is an accredited agency. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There are guidelines that we're following. There are things that we follow to ensure, as we just said about evidence being handled properly. It doesn't give me joy to stand here and report to you, all right, as your sheriff, that our facilities is not where they need to be, but it just didn't start. We moved from an old jail, an old sheriff's office, into a new facility. Well, we are steady climbing. So to sit here and tell you that we have everything, I'd be lying to you. We don't have everything, but I can assure you this, we're going to continue to work for it.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a plethora of questions for the Sheriff's Department. The first one I want to know is, whether you're reelected, whatever, what are you going to do to maintain experienced officers on the Sheriff's Department where experienced officers are not let go for personal reasons?
While the personal, I know nothing about.
Come on, Sheriff.
When you talk about, I'm not going to get into a personnel issue, number one. That's not fair to the individuals. And we're not in a court discussing a matter of law on an individual. But when you talk about maintaining people, our staff members, you're talking about training. Since I've been sheriff, every division has training, including myself. There are classes that come through the Department of Justice that are free. Since I've been sheriff since 2008, we've operated on more than over $400,000 in grants. And the training that we get from here to Columbia, sometimes it's out of the state. It's free. A lot of times it's not free. So as we scuffle to continue to give, and I said to you, ladies and gentlemen, earlier, there are two things that can happen. You don't wait for citizens to vote you in or vote you out. Okay? If it's not where it's happening for you, you step back, you move. But with this job, you have to look for grants. You have to look for finances in order to get the proper training and maintain people. Sometimes we train and they leave.
I'd like to say something. Did y'all know Sun City had over 400 retired police officers? Highly educated detectives, investigators. Wouldn't that be a great resource for this sheriff here to help them out and work on some cases that we have? They would be glad to come in and help us with some of these murder cases now. What about the reserve program? Put on more reserves. Have two riding at night, a reserve and a police officer, and a sheriff. We got to have more protection at night. There's a lot of other areas that we can develop that don't cost that much money.
Questions? All right. Got one more.
Absolutely. What are we gonna do about educating our children against drugs when we're in the corridor of shame as far as our education goes to start with, and they see drug dealers living the high life, and they're getting released from jail time after time after time. You know, I live in Hardyville. I work downtown Hardyville, and I see drug deal after drug deal after drug deal happening. How are we going to educate our children that this is not the way of life that they want? The entire panel.
Okay, well, let's go, we're gonna keep with the rules, we're going to go in order. Mr. Blatchley, Mr. Mitchell, Mr. Woodward, Sheriff Jenkins.
Well, from what I understand, there is a program called DARE, it's been out for years, that educates our children. Now, as far as the drug dealers, we need to go in them areas, and if we have to sit in them areas, we need to sit in them areas. We need to be prone, we know all where they're at. We're not all stupid here. We know where the drug dealers are. Well, sit in that area where they're at. I'm the type of sheriff, and most of y'all know me. If I got to sit there, I will. Greg, Sheriff knows me, and Sam knows me. Fear was not my vocabulary. If I got to go there myself with a patrol car, I'll sit there myself and tell them to pack up and leave.
Mr. Mitchell, 1 minute.
I'm a firm believer in education before incarceration. Being a trouble teen myself, I understand what the young kids go through now. These kids nowadays live by what you call the G code, which is the gang code. These kids swear to secrecy. They commit crimes. They all know about it, but they just don't talk about it. First of all, you got to build trust. They got to know that they can be able to come to you and talk to you about it. That's the first thing. When I was a kid, when I was a high school student over in Beaufort County, we had an Explore program where the police officers come into school and they talk to the kids, and then every 3 quarters or every quarter or so we have career week, and where kids will then ride along with the police officers. We got to build a trust between the law enforcement and the sheriff's department. First thing we have to do, that's the first thing. The second thing we have to do is take control of our drug problem, so therefore we don't have that problem. When there's a problem with drugs in your area, we'll come out and work it. We don't have to wait on Beaufort County to come over and work it for us.
Thank you.
Sheriff Jenkins. Oh, excuse me. All right.
First of all, I want to just let you know that we have several schools in Jasper County. And as far as I know today, we only have school resource officers in 1 school. And I think we need to put well-educated school resource officers in every school in Jasper County. Not just public, not just private, but church schools too. We need to contact every child and let them know about peer pressure, about bullying, about all that stuff. We need to make sure that our officers are letting them children know and answering their questions. And the second thing is we got to go out here on the street. I got to get a narcotics team here second to none to run these people out of Jasper County. Get them off our street corners. Get them out of our view of our children. I said, you're not going to do that if I'm sheriff of Jasper County. You're not going to make money on the people of Jasper County. You got to go somewhere else. And as your sheriff, I'll move them out of here.
Let me say this, which is very important. A grant is how we got into the public schools, along with the assistance of the school. You don't take grant money and put it where you want to. I would love to put officers in the schools. That's what we're talking about now. I would love to have more officers in the community. You don't just run drug dealers. We're talking about we know who they are when we arrest them. And but with probable cause. We just don't go up and arrest people. You can't have suspicion. The law says, as officers, we have to have probable cause. We did a pilot program, a study, in one of our communities. We kept officers there. I told them, this is going to be your area. This is where you stay. Crime cut down in that area. This was a problem area with the former task force we had, and when we reconstructed, this is what we did. So as we did that, things changed. But you don't take grant money. And by documentation, we've called all the other schools, whether private or public, our church, and we've asked them to allow us to come into the schools. This is what we have to offer you. The response has been minimal, with the exception of one.
I'll tell y'all this, Chairman Murphy has informed me we got some time constraints on the building. Let's take one more sheriff's office question, and we've got a bunch of council who are going to have some time too.